All right, everybody, in this video, I'm going to show you how to price your fixer-upper property. So you might have a fixer-upper, maybe you inherited the property, maybe you have sentimental value and you just never got around to it. Maybe you're a landlord and your tenants destroyed the property. Maybe the market shifted, right? There's a bunch of new builds around your house. It's been 20 years, you didn't keep it up. And now you're thinking about selling it and you want to know what it's worth, right? Or maybe you want to refinance, whatever the reason. I'm going to show you how to know what your property is worth. So the first thing you can do, and what most people do that I speak to over the phone, is they put their property on Google. So put your property in Google, and I want you to pick 4 different websites: Zillow, Realtor.com, Redfin, and HR.com. I prefer Zillow out of the 4, but let's look at what it's worth. So Zillow thinks the property is worth $170,000. Realtor.com thinks the property is worth, let's see here, $184,000. $103,000 for what is this? Redfin.com, and $170,000 for HR.com. So, can you guys imagine if you thought your house was worth $103,000 according to Redfin.com, and all this time it's worth $170,000? I mean, you're leaving almost $60,000 on the table. Okay, so that's the method most people use. If I was in this situation and I didn't have access to the information I'm going to tell you, I'd probably take an average of all 4 websites, and that would be my way to determine the price of the property. Or I would just go with Zillow. Okay, but keep in mind, you have to keep in mind that your house needs repairs. So it's worth 170 or 103, but it probably needs repairs. Okay, so that's something you also got to know. The second thing you can do to know the value of your property is call a realtor. So I'm not a realtor, but realtors are a great resource. Now, the flip side of that is the realtor is going to try to persuade you to have you list the property with them, and that's the only way they're going to show you the value of the property. They're going to try to do that. What you're going to say is you're going to say this: "Hey realtor, my name is Vince. Could you give me a certified market analysis of my property, and I'm willing to pay you. It should be $50 to $100. It really costs nothing for them. It really takes nothing for them to do it. All they do is put your address in their software, click a few things, and it's going to spit out a report." Okay, this is not a deep analysis. However, it does take their knowledge and expertise to know where the market is, even though the software says certain things. So, one thing you need to know about evaluating a property, I would say it's 80% science and 20% gut instinct. Okay, 80% objective, 20% subjective. You got to know the market. You got to know a few things, right? So let's dive into it. The third way, and the second most accurate way without having a realtor license, is to pay for a comping software. Okay, I recommend Propelio.com. So you're gonna go to Propelio.com. It's like $100 a month. I think they probably have a free trial. You can do that, save yourself some money. And you're gonna put your address in the search bar. Okay, so what we're looking for, okay, this is the property. It's a 4-bed, 2-bath, 1-car garage, 2,100 square feet, 1910 build. What we're looking for is a similar property just like this one that's sold. And that's how you're going to know what your property's worth, right? You're comparing it to other properties. It's just like selling anything else, right? If you're selling computers, if you're selling phones, right? You're going to say, okay, well, these iPhone 14s are selling for, I don't know what they're selling for, are selling for $600. So that means if my iPhone is in similar quality, I should get $600 for it. Okay, same concept. Now iPhones are a little easier because they all look the same. But as you can see, these houses, they all look different. Look at how different they look. And this one is next to commercial property, right? So that makes it different. This one is next to vacant lot. So those are things that might make a difference, and that's where you got to use your intuition. Okay? So we're looking for a similar property to this one in the area to know what our property is worth. And we want to look in the same subdivision. So one thing I run into is sellers live in a really nice neighborhood. Let's say they live in a $500,000 neighborhood, and a block over is $1 million neighborhood. Okay, so they think, well, my house is worth $1 million because the block over is worth $1 million. But that's not necessarily the case. You got to go by subdivision. Is it in the same subdivision? Okay, and we're in Dallas, Texas. Sometimes the street matters. Okay, the street in a certain subdivision may be more lucrative than a street in another subdivision. For example, let's say this street is on a main road, or this street is next to a school. Those are factors that it's going to take deductive reasoning. Okay, so we're looking for a Reynolds subdivision. So let's scroll. So there's only one property in Reynolds subdivision, and look at this. It's way different. 2-bed, 1-bath. It's a totally different house, but let's see what it looks like. House needs all repairs. Okay, sold for $89,000. Okay, so that's not a good comp. So when I cannot find the same subdivision, I'm going to look for similar square feet. So we're scrolling down. These are the closest square feet, right? 1,800 and 2,200. These are the closest square feet. They're smaller, 3-bed, 2-baths, 3-bed, 2-baths. Let's see what they look like. Okay, and this is knowing the area. This is probably considered a fixed-up house. They kept the original feel to it, but they definitely spruced it up. So that one sold for $265,000, and this one sold for $293,000. Okay, this looks like. Was built in 2023, so that's a whole different house. It's a new build. So the closest comp, in my opinion, is this one. Okay, it's a different house, but let's see what that makes ours worth. So we're looking at price per square feet. So you gotta stick with me, guys. So it sold for $250,000. It's 2,200 square feet. So $250,000 divided by 2,200 equals 110. So that's the price per square feet. So this does it for you, and they think our property is worth $232,000. Okay, so look at how different it is compared to the Zillow was saying 107, HR.com I think was saying 103. But we got to dig a little deeper because that is not the same subdivision, and it does look different. Okay, so let's look at this one. Same subdivision, 229,000. Let's see if it looks similar to ours. Okay, so ours is 2 floors, so it does not look the same. And it's 124 days. It hasn't sold, but ours is bigger. Okay, so let's look to see if there's anything in the neighborhood that looks similar to ours. see if the 2,700 square feet looks similar to ours. Okay, that's a little bit more similar. Okay, so it's 2 floors like ours. It has that look, but it looks like this is a different neighborhood. So let's look at the neighborhood. So put it in Google. Let's look at the neighborhood. All right, looks like they blocked it off. But this is I would say this is a similar neighborhood, but this seems to be on a main road. Okay. And it sold for $550,000. Let's see this one. Okay, that one is a whole different neighborhood, a whole different house. Okay, this one, 3,300 square feet, sold for $105,000. Okay, so let's see where our property is in relation to this property. How close is it? So you want to see where it is on the map. All right, so it's basically on the same street. Ours is further down the street. So they're different subdivisions, but I would still use it as a comp because they're so close by. Okay, so let's see the price per square feet. Just simple price per square feet is $392,000. Okay, so both of these houses are fixed up. This is a 5-bed, 3-bath, and this is a 3-bed, 2-bath. Okay, so I would take both comps and I'd use my deductive reasoning, and I would say that, okay, this house is bigger. It's over $250,000. It looks like these guys did a better rehab. Let's see. Yeah, these guys did a really, really good rehab. Okay, same concept as the other one, but this one is a little more subtle. It looks like they just restored it in a subtle way. So I would tell myself, okay, if I did a really, really good rehab, maybe I can get up to the same price per square feet. If I did a decent rehab, I'd get closer to this price per square feet. So this is where it would take deductive reasoning, and in my opinion, I would compare both of those, and somewhere in the middle, I would say my property is worth this property is probably worth $312,000. Okay, and then I would look at what's selling on the market, see if there's anything similar selling on the market for $312,000. So $349,000. Let's see. Okay, it looks like the area is justifying these prices. So all fixed up, this house is probably worth $312,000. But I would be conservative, right? I want to be conservative. Yeah. I would say about $312,000, give or take, in my opinion. So to get really dialed in, I'd call the realtors in this area and see what prices they're getting for their property. So when you're doing comparables, you want to do a half-mile range in the last 6 months of data. So the reason you want to do the last 6 months of data is because the world changes so much these days that more accurate might even be 3 months, right? Because the house might have sold in August in the same neighborhood. Now it's on October. There's been an election, for example. Things change, right? Things change so quickly. So that's how you evaluate a property is in this scenario, because there's nothing exactly similar. We had to use our deductive reasoning, and I decided to go these two because this house is bigger than ours, this house is smaller than ours. They did a better rehab for this one, and it supports that there are properties in the area selling for that amount. Okay, so all fixed up, that property is probably worth $300,000. Okay, but you have to look. Stuff is sitting on the market, right? At 249 days, 134 days, 127. Okay, so that's going to tell me that, and let's also see how long this stayed. This was on the market for 76 days. So those are not, that is not good. Staying on the market that long is not good. So I would say, even though this property is worth $312,000, right? I want to price it to sell. Okay, so I'm going to price it below market. And I'm just going to use my intuition. I'm going to say, you know what? I think somebody would probably pay $270,000 for this. And the way I would find that number is I would call these realtors, right? All these realtors, I would call them. You can just call them by clicking on the address, and their phone number is right here. I'd call them and say, hey, I know you can't tell me that much information. I'm looking to sell my home. They're going to try to close you on using their services. I'm trying to sell my home. Can you tell me, what offers are coming in at? Okay, so the offers that they're getting is probably what your house is worth, right? These guys are probably getting 280, 270, but they're holding 290, right? They're holding, and that's what you can price your property for. Okay, so that's how you evaluate your property. Now we got to figure out how much repairs it needs, and in the next video I'm going to teach you how to know how to calculate the repairs needed on your property. So thanks for tuning in, guys. If you want to get a cash offer on your property, please reach out to us. We'd be happy to do that for you and help you get rid of your property if that's what you desire.